Happy Tuesday. Let me just make sure that we are live. All right, perfect. So if you're watching me on Facebook or you are watching on YouTube, either welcome back or welcome if you've never been here before. If you're watching on Facebook, click the 3 little dots up in the top right-hand corner, and you want to make sure you click the star. That way you are notified when I actually go live and do these videos. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click the little red subscribe button on the bottom, and then also click the bell, because same thing. If you don't click the bell, you won't get notified when I post videos. So if you like this content, make sure that you are actually seeing it, put it that way. Without further ado, let's go. Hey, Tina. I vibe off of all y'all's energy. So if you're watching live, make sure you drop lots of comments. Make sure you hit the heart button if you like what I'm saying. If you like a product that I talk about, make sure you talk about it in the comments. Like my energy very much is fed off of y'all's energy. So I love doing these videos. I love chatting with you. And if you're watching the replay on Facebook or YouTube, same thing. Give me feedback in the comments, guys. I go through and I respond to every single comment. So I love getting feedback from you guys. So I want to start, which I do pretty much every single video. I'm going to start by giving a small business shout out. Hi. I'm so blind. Is it Dana? Dana or Deanna? I cannot see half the letters. The small business shout out I'm going to show you guys today. On Instagram, they are Soul Sis. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. They have a real cool name and I mess it up every time. Soul Sis Cocoon. And what they did, so they have a business, obviously, but they have several different items. They have clothing. They have these really cool little, see if you can see them, just greeting cards. So this says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So they have a lot of products, but they launched a company, or I think rather a brand, maybe would be a better word for it, called The Happy Scholar. And all it is educational toys. So you guys know that I homeschool. You know I have a teaching degree. I have a huge background in education. So I love anytime I can get my hands on any type of educational toys. If my daughter can learn while she thinks she's playing, why not combine the best of both worlds? So this is a flannel board. Drop in the comments if you grew up in church and your Sunday school teacher back in the day used flannel graphs for stories. I don't know if that maybe was just where I come from. I know my husband has talked about them. So I don't know if that was like a thing everywhere or just in our parts of the country, but my Sunday school teacher used to use what was called flannel boards. So they would tell Bible stories that were all cut out of like little flannel pieces. Love your hair like that. Aw, thank you. This is called not washing it for quite a while. That's what this is called. Yes, it was on the wall. Okay, yeah, on the wall. So this is kind of the same thing. It's a board, like I said. So it's supposed, so you can see the whole thing. It's supposed to sit like this and I should be able to let it go. However, because this one's brand new, it's not like bent enough yet. So if I let it go, it will knock everything on my desk. But it's supposed to sit. And they have, let me use different ones, these little letter cards. I know you can't see the letters. I'm going to show you the letters up close in a minute. That stick, just like a flannel graph. So it can hold 3 to 4 across twice, or you could open it up and you can use it this way as well. So that's what the board looks like. The letters It's the alphabet. So you have uppercase and lowercase of each letter. And this is great for so many different age groups because you have the alphabet. So obviously if you're working with a preschooler that's learning the alphabet, perfect. You can do the matching game where you have all the cards face down, flip them over until they find the matches. Obviously, the animals match with the corresponding letters. Or you can use it as a spelling. Like what I'm going to do for my daughter is I'm just going to turn this into a little more of a fun way when we do our spelling test, to where instead of writing out the words, she gets to use these really fun letter tiles. You could also, we're doing Spanish right now, so you could also do it as practice for Spanish letters. You literally, like, you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. But I thought that that was a very, very innovative. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. A little better. I just thought it was very innovative. The concept of take the flannel board, kids love playing with it anyways, have all the different letters, and you can turn it into an educational toy. So we are going to talk about words of affirmation. So this is episode 4 in the love language series. So drop me a 1 if you have watched any of the other episodes. And if not, no worries. But if you watched any of the other episodes, drop me a 1. We have talked about, the first one was just the intro. Second one, we talked about what the different 5 love languages were. The third one, which was the last one, we talked about physical touch and basically just how you can use that to relate not only to your kids, but also to your spouse. And then now we're going to talk about words of affirmation. So obviously words are very powerful. How many of y'all have ever heard, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me? Okay, that is something as a kid that we were taught over and over. And anytime my brothers or myself came home and, ooh, what is happening up there? And we were picked on, which is a normal part of being a kid, I get it. When you go home and you would tell your parents, they would say, well, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Y'all, dumbest dang advice ever. Words do hurt. Like, I don't know who came up with that, but no. Like, that's just not the case. Words can actually linger with a child for an entire lifetime if they don't know how to deal with it or they're never taught how to deal with it. We're not going to talk about it so much in this episode. We will in a later episode. But did you know becoming anti-authority happens as a child? And the biggest way that it happens is through our words. I guess I knew it makes sense, but thinking on it, I was like, oh, like some of us are creating the anti-authority attitude within our children literally from the womb. So that's something we're going to touch a little bit on, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more later. But something that comes to mind, for example, is teachers. If you have a teacher that criticizes you as a child and is demeaning and shameful, you're going to grow up pretty much your entire life with this idea in your head. When you think of teachers, you automatically think mean, shameful. You don't have like a loving feeling associated with them. Does that make sense? So when we're babies, when your kids are babies, rather, we understand that we need to speak lovingly to them. Somehow, that transitions when they get a little bit older. It's a little bit harder to be loving, to speak loving all the time to a little mini version of yourself that likes to scream and throw tantrums. Before babies understand words, they understand the tone of your voice. So again, as babies, that's not really that hard for us, I feel like, to speak lovingly to them with our tone. As our kids get older, it becomes a little bit more difficult when we are wanting to rip our hair out because little Johnny has taken his diaper off for the 24th time that day and has peed in several different corners. Y'all, every single illustration I use is a real life story. I just don't give real life names to it. So yes, that has actually happened to a very good friend of mine, to the point where she ended up duct taping her husband. Oh my goodness. Duct taping her son's diaper on. Clearly not touching the skin. Like there was no child abuse involved at all here. But she put duct tape around his diaper where the tabs are because the kid kept taking his diaper off. And she was convinced, even with the duct tape, he was going to figure it out. But he didn't. So that solved the problem for that. But I was just glad that Glory never went through that phase. I can tell you that I grew up in a household where anger was a very dominant trait. Every adult that I knew had anger issues. They yelled all the time. Like, yelling was a huge form of punishment. And that's one reason that the title is, Are We Harming Our Kids More Than Doing Good Through the Way That We Punish Them? When we need to punish our kids, which we all do, we need to take a breath and calm down first. Now, I'll be honest, because I grew up in a household where, again, anger was dominant, but abuse was also there. And I'm not saying anything negative at all against my mom. I do feel like she did the best that she could with what she had. But abuse was there, looking back to now with a bunch of adults in our life. When it came time to me having my own daughter and knowing that we do believe in spanking, we don't believe that that's abuse at all, but it has to be done in a correct way, I had to set safeguards up of, these are the only times I'm going to spank. There are clear and cut rules of when spanking is appropriate. Never in any household should spanking be the go-to punishment for everything. That is not the correct way to discipline your child. And by the way, punishment and discipline are not the same thing. Punishment is what it sounds like, punishment. Discipline is a form of teaching. So yes, it hurts sometimes. Maybe not physically all the time, but there's the, discipline. I don't know how to explain it. Discipline is not always a fun thing. So it hurts sometimes, but it is for the form of teaching, not just you did something bad, let me punish you. All that to say, I did not know that I needed to set up safeguards around my words when I was using those for punishment. So a lot of the time, and I don't have any excuse for this. I'm just telling you this is what I did. I knew when my daughter did something, because now keep in mind, from the time Glory was about 9 months old to a year, maybe, she had been in daycare for a while. And then we took her out. I found an online job. I started working full-time through my online job, eventually replaced my income. When I did that, I was able to come home and be a stay-at-home mom, except I wasn't just a stay-at-home mom, because now I was working full-time from home. I had a relatively new child, and I was trying to balance a lot of things. So I definitely stressed out a little bit in the beginning. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Absolutely, I would not trade it at all. But there were times I would get very frustrated at Glory for doing certain things, and I knew I had to calm down before I physically punished her for anything. And it was stuff that she went through a very stubborn phase. She's my kid, we'll just put it that way. To where we would say not to do something and she would look at us and smile and do it just to see if we would react. Very knowingly, she understood what she was doing. And so, calm down. However, the way I spoke to her before the actual punishment occurred, I didn't realize was also punishment, and that was not in a loving way. I raised my voice. I borderline probably yelled. I can't obviously think of every situation, but since then, I've realized it because, again, that's how I grew up. So that was just normal. We purposely do not yell at Glory. No, that's not to say we never have. Again, we are not perfect by any stretch, but we do know that that is not the way that you speak to a child. Again, I always go back to the illustration of if my husband does something that I don't like and I yelled at him or I spoke down to him, how would he feel and how would he react? I shouldn't speak to him any differently than I would speak to my child. Same with my husband. If I did something that he did not approve of, and he said, "You're so dumb. Go to your room. Just don't come out. I just can't even handle you right now." One, I'd be pissed. Like, no, sir, you don't talk to me like that. But two, like, I would probably be pretty devastated. Then why is it okay that we turn around and we talk to our children that way? The answer is it's not. But because they're children and we can borderline control them, for lack of better terms, because they're children, we tend to take more liberty than we should, instead of realizing they're little adults, they're little humans, and they deserve the same respect that we deserve from our spouse and our loved ones. Yes, absolutely. They all deserve it. So I am going to talk to y'all about 4 different kinds of words. These are all under the category of words of affirmation. Guys, I love this book so much. I highly recommend every one of y'all go get the 5 Love Languages of Kids and read it cover to cover if you are a parent, because it's just amazing. So the first kind of words of affirmation are intentional words. If the only time you tell your child that you love them is after you discipline them, it's not going to mean as much. On the flip side, if you tell your child that you love them only when they do something good, it's going to create the idea of conditional love. If you don't know what that is, it literally is going to give them a subconscious feeling that you only love them when they do good things, which is not true. We all love our kids, and we all get annoyed at our kids. It doesn't make us love them anymore. Just like God doesn't love us or any less. Just like God doesn't love us any less when we do dumb crap. We don't love our kids any less when they do dumb stuff. But we can make them feel that way by the way that we use our words. So when I say, make sure you are intentional, find ways and reasons to tell your child that you love them outside of discipline time and when they do something good. Now, for me, this is awkward as crap. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I didn't grow up in a house like this. So when I first started practicing this, like, my child probably was like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're kind of acting weird. And sometimes she, actually, I know she thought this, because sometimes she would tell me, she's like, Mom, why are you acting weird? Well, kid, because this is weird for me to say I love you. Now shut up and let me love you. So something that we do is we do tuck-in time. And this looks different for every family. But my daughter likes to sit and wash her face and talk to me about her day. And this can be like the most random stuff, y'all. Like, it can be anything from what we did in school that day to talking about her future kids. I'm telling you, I don't even know where she gets half the stuff she talks about. And then we lay down and we read a story before she goes to bed. Now, here's the problem. Okay, let me make sure that I'm not missing anything here. Okay, so the way our schedule is set up, my husband does not get home until around 6:30-ish every night right now. Now, he leaves for work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I work full-time, but I work from home. So I work 100% around my daughter's schedule and around my husband's schedule, but I also coach other women how to make money online. Sometimes that means I'm working with another mom who works full-time. So for me to hop on a coaching Zoom with them, it's not convenient for them to do it during the day, which is usually when I work, or early morning, right? A lot of people don't want to hop on a Zoom with me at 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's okay. So sometimes I have to schedule those at 8 o'clock at night. So, what's up, babe? Yes, you want to say hi? Yes, please. We are studying Louisiana right now in school, so don't worry, come here. She wants to say hi. She's watching Princess and the Frog.
Louisiana.
Your hair looks so crazy. All right, go finish.
Okay.
I love you.
4 minutes on the clock.
That's not what the minutes are. Y'all, work from home life right here. Sorry. Anyways, so if I wait until after it's time for me to go to bed, I don't want to tuck my kid in. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I do not want to sit down and read a story. I do not want to hear about your day. I'm ready for bed. So this is what we do, and you have to work with your schedule. It doesn't matter if it looks weird to anybody else. So, and I'm gonna tell you our tuck-in schedule, and you're gonna be like, that's the dumbest crap I've ever heard. But it works for us, and it fills my daughter's cup. Because I have a couple options. I could push it off till the end of the night, and then half the time, my daughter's going to say, Mom, can we do wash face and story time? And I'm going to say, no, honey, not tonight. I'm so tired. She's going to whine. I'm going to get frustrated. Why would I set myself up for that? So she is getting shortchanged at that point. The second option is as soon as we eat dinner, we can go do that, and then she can go to bed, but then she gets no time with my husband, except Saturdays and a little bit on Sundays between church. So he is getting the short end of the stick, and she's getting the short end of the stick. So here's what we do. Dinner's over. We go and we wash face. We lay down and we read a story. Then she gets back up. She spends as much time with my husband as he wants. So sometimes she goes to bed before this, sometimes a little later. Let me just back up. She'll spend time with him. I come to the office. If I have a Zoom scheduled, I do a Zoom coaching whoever I'm coaching to make money that night. Usually I only do that once or twice a week, no more than twice, because I don't like doing it at night. But again, I tailor to whoever's schedule I'm coaching because that's my job. I agree to coach you when you come onto the team, so I'm gonna make good on that, even if it's not 100% convenient in my schedule. Otherwise, I come in here at 7:30 about is when we're done with like tuck-in time and stuff. And if I need a little bit of work done, I get work done. But mostly it's like catch up if I have a lesson that I haven't finished prepping or whatever. Then, 9 o'clock, my daughter goes to bed. I shut my phone off. I'm done for the night. And then I go spend an hour with my husband. Sometimes we watch TV. Sometimes we lay in bed and talk about our day, whatever. Okay, so that's a weird schedule. Like, most people don't do tuck-in time and then their kid gets out of bed. But it works for us. And we're all getting our love tank filled the way that we need to get it filled. So it works for us. So whatever your schedule is, make it work for your family. Oh, and I do want to say, only because someone on here is going to be like, wow, you work from like 5 in the morning till 9 at night. No, I don't at all. So I usually work anywhere from 4 to 5 hours a day, but I like to get my work done. Like, I would love to just get up and sit down 7 o'clock in the morning, be done with work by noon and doing whatever. The problem is I also homeschool my daughter, as I've mentioned. So basically I have a full-time job on a full-time job. So not really. I guess 4 to 5 hours is only, just kidding. I don't have a full-time job. I guess it's part-time. But it's full-time pay for part-time hours, so I'm not complaining. The homeschooling is a full-time job though. And then add on to that, cleaning the house, making all the meals, like being a wife and a mom. If you're a wife and a mom, drop me a 2 in the comments. Like, that is a job in itself, regardless what capacity that you do it in. So first type of words are going to be intentional. Second type is going to be praise. So these are meaningful words. What did I write here? Oh, meaningful because your kid knows when you're faking it. If your kid's out playing baseball and they miss the ball 8 out of 10 times and you tell them how amazing they did in the game, okay, unless your kid is 6 and gullible like mine is right now, still not a good habit to get into. Your kid is going to be like, yeah, Dad, I sucked out there. Like, I missed every single pitch. But instead, if you say, hey, so-and-so, you did a great job. You tried your hardest. Like, I could tell you put your all into it. That actually means something to them because it's not empty praise. And then at the same time, if you praise them for every little thing that they do, that should be expected, right? My daughter, one thing she does every day is she unloads the dishwasher. Every day, if I like go on about how amazing she is at taking those dishes out, the first day that I don't, she's going to assume something's wrong. Guys, did you know I clean my house every day? Almost every day. Almost. Like 75% of the time. No, I clean my house pretty much every day. Almost every day when my husband walks in the door, his dinner is on the table and ready for him to eat. Did you know not every single day that he walks in, he gushes about how amazing of a wife that I am? Now, he does sometimes. He's very good at words of affirmation. But not all the time. I would say not even half the time. Did you know the other half the time that he's not telling me how amazing I am? There's nothing wrong. He just shouldn't have to tell me every single day, and I don't expect it. Our kids are the same way. If we overpraise them, they get to where they are used to it, and the first time you don't, they assume that you're mad at them. So, words of praise, used correctly, can mean a lot. So, first words are intentional words, second words are words of praise, third words are words of encouragement. So, I always thought words of encouragement were like, oh, you're going to have a better day tomorrow, or it's okay, look on the bright side. That's what I think of. So words of encouragement in this context, it's encouraging the right behavior. So it's saying things like, I noticed today at practice when Stephen was telling you that story that you listened so intently with him and you responded and you were such a good friend. And you're encouraging him to repeat the action later. Glory, often I tell her this because, newsflash, only kids can be selfish. Okay, my kid's an only kid. We have to work on, we're not going to act spoiled today when friends come over especially. And I hear things like, I don't want them in my room. Well, if you don't want friends in your room, then we're going to stop letting friends come over. Do you want friends? Then you better be nice and let them play in your bedroom. But when I hear her sharing, when her friends leave, I'll say, Gloria, I noticed how you shared your toys with Jacob today. We have a little boy come over. His sister and my daughter are real good friends. Jacob sometimes is the little brother. We've all been there. Either our kid, we've seen it with our kid, or maybe you were the little brother or little sister, or maybe you had the little brother or little sister that tagged along. Nothing wrong with it. Sometimes you're going to feel like, oh, that's just the little sister. Sometimes they get along great. Sometimes she'll tell me, Mom, does Jacob have to come? Or the girls will come and tell me, Mom, can we play without Jacob? No, you do not get to exclude your little brother. That is not okay. But sometimes they'll be real sweet to him. And I see them sharing their stuff. And I'll tell Gloria, I saw how you shared with Jacob and you included him in everything today. That was so good. Did you know that made God so happy? And she just beams from ear to ear. And I'm encouraging her to do the same thing the next time. So we can encourage our kids in the right behavior. So funny little story. We were at a friend's house. Let me check the time. We were at a friend's house having dinner. And the little boy, I think he's like 9. He is going on. He is telling my husband all the things he likes to do. Right? He's just going on and on. And finally, the dad tells the little boy, well, are you going to ask Mr. Brett what he likes to do? And the little boy goes, no, not right now. He had no interest at all in my husband. He just wanted to talk about himself. And the dad goes, no, ask Mr. Brett what he likes to do because it is very rude to just talk about yourself and not ask the other person what they want to do, right? And he kind of urged him. And then after, I saw the dad tell him, that was very kind that you listened to what Mr. Brett liked to do too. That made him feel very good. And I was like, that is so smart. Because as a 9-year-old, we don't think that much of it. Like, whatever, the kid likes to talk about himself. In 10 years, when that habit still hasn't been broken, that's the 19-year-old that the 30-year-olds don't want anything to do with and won't, let them take an internship at their office or take him under their wing and teach him a trade because the kid doesn't shut up about himself. That's the kid that grows up and becomes an excellent listener because he had a dad that constantly was like, hey, you should do this. Oh, you did a great job doing this. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is like positive parenting 101. Like, that's amazing. And then you also have to lead by example and not say things that your kid's going to repeat. So again, words of encouragement, you can teach them to do the right thing, but you can also teach them to do the wrong thing. So be careful. Just be careful what you say. And then, so one thing when it comes to encouraging the right behavior, and I see this a lot because I've worked with a lot of parents, the teacher-parent relationship. Drop me a 3 if you've ever disagreed with your child's teacher. Now, I'm right down there with you. I've got a 3 in the comments. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with your child's teacher. But I will caution that your child should never know that you disagreed with their teacher or you should get them a different teacher. My husband just got home early. So much for working until 6:30 tonight. I'm here in the garage, so he's home. If you disagree with the teacher, remember that you choose that teacher. You're choosing to keep your child in that school. You're choosing to keep your child in that church. Like, everything is a choice. You can take your kid out and move them. You can take your kid out and homeschool them. And you say, oh, no, I can't. I work full time. I was there. I also worked full time. I chose to choose an online career instead of what I was doing to be home with my kid. Now, it's not for everyone. I'm not telling that you should do that. All I'm saying is everything that we do is a choice. So if you choose to keep your child with that teacher and you don't, and I'm not saying anything sinful, I'm just saying you don't agree with them, your kid should not ever hear you criticizing them. Because then what happens? He goes his whole life and you're always criticizing his teachers. Then he becomes a teenager and now he is criticizing and questioning you, and you're mad and you don't know why he's questioning you. Well, Mom, you taught him to question and criticize authority, and now you are the authority that he's questioning and criticizing. That's on you. Don't come to complain to people and you don't understand why your child is bucking the system, so to speak, and all of a sudden he's acting out. You've been teaching him to act out his entire life. So, and I'll just end this portion with a story. I was in a session with a teen girl that I was working with, and her common complaint, I guess, was my mom yells at me all the time. She doesn't let me talk. She just yells at me. And so I told her, I very easily could have said, like, you're right. Your mom is not a good mom. But that wouldn't have helped the situation. She couldn't change the situation. So instead we focused on her. I said, okay, well, I understand that your mom is doing some things that you don't appreciate, and she probably could handle the situations a little better. But let's talk about you. How does it make you feel? How do you respond when she does this? What are the words that you say back to her? And we just went through a list. And then I asked her, I said, now, how could you be more respectful in this situation? Because you can't control your mom's actions, but you can control your actions. And God gave you that mom for a reason. And she is doing the very best that she knows how to do. And without a shadow of a doubt, she loves you. Like, your parents love you. Simple as that. I know very few parents that don't love their kids. And that's only because of the way that I grew up. Most of y'all don't know any parents that don't love their kids. And then I told her, I was like, and the very best thing you can do is you can pray for her. Pray that God gives her wisdom and that God leads her to have a little bit more patience with you, because maybe she is going through a rough time and you don't know about it. And so, same thing with our teachers. When it comes to us, as parents, you're going to have times you butt heads with your teacher. Teach your kids that they can always find the good in literally everybody. I remember I was in 7th grade and we had a teacher named Mr. Chan. He was Pakistan. He wasn't a bad man to my knowledge, but his English was not great. He was my science teacher. He spent most of all of our periods arguing with certain students, and those certain students knew how to push his buttons. Y'all know the kids, I remember specifically there was a class period where he spent the entire 45-minute period arguing with us that a boulder and a bulldozer were the same thing. Now, at the time, my little 7th grade immature self, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. We got out of science and we just got the teacher up there riled up. A few classes later, I was in my gifted class and I was under a teacher, Miss Brenda Chavez. She gets on here a lot of the times and watches these videos, so shout out Miss Brenda if you're on here. But what she did is we started talking about this incident and we started going off about how crappy of a teacher Mr. Chan was. Excuse me. You pray for the people we may not see eye to eye with. Yeah, absolutely. So she goes, no, we're not gonna talk about him like that in our class. We went on. Maybe 10 minutes later, we're back on the topic. And she very sternly but lovingly was like, girls, there was only 5 of us in the class. It was a gifted class. You had to test to get into this. So it was a very small, intimate class. We usually sat around a little circle table. And Miss Chavez was awesome. She had the most random lessons that she would do. But they always got us thinking outside the box, which was the point of the class, was getting us to challenge our brain, I guess. So I was like, hey, we're not going to talk like that. Like, that's the last time I'm going to tell you. She would never tell us what our consequences were going to be either until we earned them. Like, it was never, don't do this or I'm going to do this. It was like, don't do this. Like, that's the last warning. And then the punishment was always like the most random thing that at the time I thought was super dumb. Like this one that I'm about to tell you. So 10 minutes goes on. We're back roasting him again. Like, we're just going at it. She goes, okay, take out a piece of paper. Write you can't leave class until you write down 10 good qualities about Mr. Chan. And we're like, what? Like, what kind of crackhead stuff is this? Give me detention or something. No, we sat there until we wrote 10 qualities about him. And I'll never forget that lesson, because guess what? I came up with 10 qualities. Now, I may not have believed them all at the time, but I came up with them. We can do the same thing with our kids. They really don't see eye to eye with a teacher, and it's not a sin. Again, I can't stress that enough. I'm not talking about abuse here, guys. But if it's abuse, you should be going to the authorities, not sitting at home around the dinner table roasting the teacher. Okay? So y'all know half the stuff you're complaining about, 90% of the stuff you're complaining about, you're just complaining. So don't do it. But yeah, I'll never forget that lesson. It sucked at the time, but I will never forget it. And that's something that I tell Glory too. Like, we practice gratitude all the time for people and for things. So almost done here. It's a little longer than I wanted it to be. I appreciate y'all sticking with this though. Like, I'm very passionate about teaching and subjects especially like this. So I appreciate those of y'all that stay on to the entire thing, whether you're live or watching the replay, either one. So if you're still here, drop me down a 4 in the comments if you're still with me and you haven't tuned out yet. So we have intentional words, we have words of praise, words of encouragement, and the last one is words of guidance. So this is where words of guidance, these are the teaching moments. These are the hard conversations that we don't want to have with our kids, but they all fall under that words of affirmation. These are the moments when you want to say, well, the Bible says don't do it, so don't do it, and leave it at that. And our kids look at us like, what? How does that apply to real life? Now, I'll tell you right off, I'm not the parent and I'm not the teacher that uses the Bible as the answer for everything. It is the answer, but it's not well, the Bible says don't do it, I'm not going to talk to you about it. One huge way that we can give our kids words of guidance is real life situations when they happen. For example, drugs is one of them. Now, I'm going to use cigarettes as my first example. I realize that's not like a drug, okay? So no one get offended by that if you're a smoker. But we do teach our daughter, and I think everyone that smokes will tell you it's not good for you. Like, no one would say, oh, I want my kid to grow up smoking. But I'm not saying you're like a drug addict, I guess is what I'm trying to get across. So no one get offended. But my daughter said, oh, well, you're not supposed to smoke. Why does grandma smoke? Is she bad? Because my mom smokes. I was like, no, she's not a bad person. I was like, she didn't make the smartest decision when she decided to start smoking. But then I talked to her a little bit. And again, my daughter's 6. She doesn't need too many details. But we looked up on the internet what smoke does to your lungs. And I showed her a picture. I said, this is what happens inside your body when you smoke. That's going to linger with her. Me saying, well, the Bible says don't do it, so don't do it. Not going to linger with her. Now, it should. I'm not saying it shouldn't. But our kids need something to hang on to a little bit more concrete. Alcohol is another one. We, as adults, use alcohol as a coping mechanism so many times. Because as kids, we were never taught coping mechanisms. So we turned to other substances as soon as we were old enough to. My opinion, sorry, not sorry. That's what I'm going to say. So my daughter, I come from a long line of alcoholics and drug addicts, myself included. Now, I've broken the cycle. I hope that I break the chain of addiction. It never goes down to my daughter. But it is what it is. Like, one day, she's going to know a lot more about my past than she does right now. But when it comes to alcohol, sometimes she'll see beer on TV. We go to baseball games. We went to the first time that she saw a beer can. She was like 5, I think. We were at a baseball game, and we were buying stuff, and they're walking around and selling things. she asked my husband for one of the cans of drinks, she called it. And my husband's like, oh no, that's alcohol, honey, that's not bad. A couple weeks goes by. She tells me, she's like, Mom, why does Dad have a can of alcohol in his bedroom? It was a can of Mountain Dew. She didn't know that there was like cans of soda too. So we had a talk about what alcohol is, why people use it, and why you shouldn't use it. We talked about how a lot of times people that drink and drive end up hurting other people, and how you never want to be someone that hurts someone else. Another one, this is taboo. Some of y'all are about to shut me off right now, is sex. How many of you, if your kids came to you right now and said, Mom, what is sex? You would shut them out and be like, oh, don't say that. That's a bad word. You know, if you say that, you're doing them a disservice as a parent. Again, some of y'all about to shut me out. We do believe that you should not have sex until you're married. Now, those of y'all that know me know I did not practice what I preach. My husband did. Now, again, my daughter's going to learn a lot more about that later on, about how very different our pasts were. But that is something that we have already had the conversation with her, because so many, even Disney movies, guys, and I get that they don't like go into detail, but they kiss. Like, kissing is a big part of it. So what does kissing lead to? Like, it just happens. And the whole, where do babies come from? That has been a topic in our house recently. So when my daughter was 4, she heard the word sex in junior church from some little boy. Innocently, nothing happened. It literally was like in passing. We came home that afternoon. My husband and I are very affectionate people. Like, we kiss all the time. He'll smack me on the butt. I'll smack him on the butt even though he don't like it, just to make him mad. But we're very affectionate. Always appropriate around our daughter, but like, we show affection. And you should. Like, we're very much in love. We're married. We want our daughter to grow up seeing that. Like, that is a normal marriage. So we're kissing that afternoon. Like, I just sit on the couch beside him. We're watching TV, and she turns over and I'm kissing him. She goes, oh, Mom, you guys are having sex. And my husband was like he froze, because he didn't grow up in a household that talked about that kind of stuff. So I know in his mind, he's ready to shut her down. Like, no, we ain't talking about that. I was like, no. I was like, this is just kissing. Sex is something you do in your, like, mommies and daddies do in their bedrooms with the door shut, never around anybody else. That was enough for her 4-year-old brain. She didn't bring it up since, until, I don't know, a few months ago now, my housekeeper's here. She knows us, so I'm sitting in the office doing something. My daughter's in the kitchen. The door's open. I can hear her. She's talking to my housekeeper, and I hear her say, yeah, Mom and Dad have sex in front of me all the time. And I was like, wait, what? What did I just hear? So I walk out there. I was like, hey, babe, what you talking about? She's like, oh, you and Dad having sex. And I was like, honey, no, we don't. Yeah, you kiss all the time, and it's disgusting. I was like, honey, well, kissing isn't sex. And my housekeeper, like, again, she knows us. So she knows my daughter's misinterpreting something. But she is standing there trying not to laugh at my poor child, who, dead serious, is, like, telling her this story. And I was like, no, babe, remember, that's just kissing. When you have sex, you, in your bedroom with the door shut, only mommies and daddies. So now, guess what she asks every time we're in the bedroom with the door shut? Even 8 o'clock in the morning when we're getting ready for church. So now that's a whole nother conversation about things that you shouldn't ask your parents. But the point, I have had parents that have had 5th, 6th, and 7th graders ask them questions regarding sex, and the parents completely shut them down, like get mad at them for even bringing up the topic. Guess where they go ask? It ain't their parents anymore. They go to their friends. Guess how dumb their friends are when it comes to the topic. Just as dumb as the original kid asking. And then you get kids thinking that kissing is sex. Then you get kids that are 17 and 18 having babies not knowing how they had them. Talk to your kids, guys. Or rather, let them talk to you. Okay. Yeah, so the teaching moments, the words of guidance. When your kids come to you with a question about any of the topics that I just mentioned that are awkward as crap to talk about, and I get it, I don't like talking about them either. Because I have worked with so many kids and so many families and so many teenagers, it's kind of the subjects, nothing shocks me anymore. So with my own kid, it's not that shocking. But I know with my husband, it is. So I get it from both sides. But when they come to you, don't make them feel like they're bad for asking. Don't make them feel like it's a bad subject, because in all reality, like they're going to hear and learn about it. It might as well be from you. Don't say things like, don't talk to me about that stuff. Parents will give off the impression of, you can talk to me about anything as long as I agree with it. Guys, whatever your kids come and talk to you about, listen with an open mind, have a conversation. If you don't know the answer, go to someone. I'm not saying you have to deal with it by yourself. But here's what we do. We shut our kids down, and then we puff ourselves up like, I did my job. I parented like a pro right there. My kid ain't asking me about that no more. You didn't do your job. You just told your kid to shut up and go ask the kid at school. All you told them is, when you have important things that you want to talk about, mom and dad are not the place to come. You gave them the exact opposite message that you were trying to give them. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was longer than some of the ones that I do. If you feel like this was valuable, I am actively trying to grow my platform on this. Guys, I'm so passionate about positive parenting, and I just want to educate so many parents about this topic, because I think it's something that we don't talk about, especially in my generation. So if you enjoyed the video, if you thought it was valuable, please share. Click the share button. It'll go straight to your page. If you're on YouTube, you click the share button and you can copy the link straight to your page. I definitely appreciate it. Now, if you thought like I was crap and you don't like me, that's okay too. I am not for everybody, and that's okay. But I do sincerely appreciate every one of y'all that view the videos, every one of y'all that leave comments, that leave love, that share the videos, just supporting this channel at all. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you guys next time.